In January of 2022, I made the big leap of moving from London, England to Saskatchewan in Canada. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should consider moving to Saskatchewan in 2023. So without further ado, let's grab a Tim's and jump straight into the video. Reason number 1 is affordability. Saskatchewan is without a doubt one of the cheapest provinces to live in across all of Canada. Whether you're looking to rent or buy a home, you'll find Saskatchewan is much cheaper compared to some of those bigger provinces like Ontario, Alberta, British Columbia. And again, there's good reasons for that. Firstly, there's a lower population here, which means there's a less demand for housing as there would be in some of those bigger provinces. But that can really be in your benefit if you're moving here because it is much cheaper. Now, one thing I will say, in those bigger cities in Saskatchewan, like Saskatchewan and Regina, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. However, even compared to the rest of Canada, those prices are pretty cheap. With that said, one thing to look out for is though the general cost of living is cheap, things like groceries, transportation may be significantly higher in Canada more generally compared to your home country. So that is something to consider, and I would say wherever you are in Canada, things like groceries are going to be more expensive. The one big thing I will say for a lot of people, and this is not the case if you're living in those bigger cities again, like Saskatchewan, Regina, but one thing you do need to consider is you may need to eventually buy a vehicle because unfortunately public transportation isn't as big in Saskatchewan compared to other parts of Canada. However, one thing I will say since living here is I've been able to live a much higher quality of life, which is something I could have never have dreamed of in the UK, especially when it comes to things like owning property and the space that I can get for the money that I'm paying. So number 2 is the stunning and outstanding natural beauty within Saskatchewan. Now, for a lot of people who've never been to Saskatchewan, even if you're from Canada, something most people do is drive through and just think that Saskatchewan is all this flat land. But let me tell you, that is not the case at all. There are so many wonderful lakes to see in Saskatchewan. In fact, Saskatchewan has the most lakes in all of Canada, and even where I live, I can drive 30 minutes either way and I will have a lake, which is so nice, especially for the summer, because the summers in Saskatchewan are just wonderful. But even thinking about where I live, there are other places even further south in the province like Cypress Hills. There's even sand dunes in Saskatchewan, which is a place I really want to visit this summer. But while we often think of prairies and not much else, there are so many wonderful things here to see and do. And even if you go up to areas like Meadow Lake and other places in the province, there are lots of forests and things like that. Or even if you go to some of our national parks like Waskasiu, and again, if you like hiking, you like seeing different animals, then those are really good places to go. So that leads me on to number 3, which is the people of Saskatchewan. Now, I've said this before and I will say it again, but people in Saskatchewan are just amazing. And as a newcomer to Saskatchewan, I felt so welcomed by the people in my community, and I feel like I've made genuine friendships and relationships with people across where I am living, and that is because the people where I live are just so nice, so friendly. They're always willing to help, and this is one thing I truly love. I remember when I first moved here and I got stuck on the side of the road as a newcomer, not used to driving in Canadian winters. Somebody came and helped me within 10 minutes. And that is something where I think about living in the UK. I don't think that would happen, or if it did, it would take much longer. Another thing I would say about the people is people really care about their community, and this is something I really love about the province. Even looking at what I'm wearing now, Very Proud is a local Saskatchewan brand, and people are very passionate about that, or even local produce, local clothing. local breweries, for example. There are so many wonderful local things, and people here like to support local, which is something which I truly think is amazing and something I really love about this province. On another note, one thing I will say, and this has nothing to do with my political views or anything like that, but one thing I do really appreciate is that you actually see the local politicians around in the community. And again, this is putting politics aside. The fact that you see your local MLA around in the community is actually a big deal, because I don't think I ever saw our local MP in the UK once. Again, not thinking about politics, but just seeing those people around the community is something that I do appreciate. So that leads me on to number 3, which is employment opportunities. Now, whether you're in Saskatchewan, Regina, Moose Jaw, PA, Swift Current, Meadow Lake, there are so many places for you to choose. However, there are lots of job opportunities depending on where you are in the province. Now, if you are in somewhere like Saskatchewan, Regina, it's going to be naturally more competitive, like it would be for any other Canadian city. However, I found getting a job here actually a lot easier than what I thought I would, and I did my research back in England. So when I started and when I moved to Canada in Saskatchewan, I had a job already lined up. Now, something that really helped me is something called SAS Jobs, and I will leave a link in the description down below. But that was a really good website I found just for looking at different areas and seeing what job opportunities are coming up across the province, because for some of you that might determine where in the province you choose to live. So I would highly recommend having a look, seeing what jobs are available, what industries you're in, and see if there's any links, and that way you can choose the best place to live if you're thinking about moving to Saskatchewan. And finally, number 5 is education and healthcare. And these are things in the province that I personally really do appreciate. Now, if you're thinking about education, Saskatchewan does have a pretty good K-12 system. It also has good universities, the University of Saskatchewan, the University of Regina, and it also has other institutions like Sask Polytech. It has regional colleges like Northwest College, Lakeland College, and so many more. And I think wherever you go in the province, the education is pretty good. I will say, if you're looking at moving here for educational purposes, then make sure you look at the Pacific institutions so you know what you need to do and what the expectations are. Thinking about healthcare as well, one of the nice things about Saskatchewan, well actually all of Canada, is that healthcare is paid for through taxation, which is very similar to the UK where I'm from. But in my experience in Saskatchewan, the healthcare system has been pretty good. And I have to say, I haven't had to deal with the healthcare service too much, but it's really good knowing it's there and knowing that the government are actually putting in lots of money right now to healthcare. And don't get me wrong, similar to being in the UK, there are lots of things that need improving and lots more investment, and that is the case everywhere. However, overall, I would say both education and healthcare are pretty good within the province. Now, that's just my opinion, and don't get me wrong, my opinions change all the time. So take everything that I'm saying with a pinch of salt, because your opinions may differ, and that is okay. Okay, so there we have it. There were 5 very quick reasons in why you should consider moving to Saskatchewan in 2023. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you give the video a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to consider subscribing. I haven't been able to make as many videos as I've wanted to, and that's because I've had 2 jobs as well as buying a house, so I've been very busy, but I do want to start making more videos across the summer. So thanks so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment. I would love to chat to you and see where you're from, whether you are living in Saskatchewan already or whether you are planning to move in Saskatchewan in the future. So that is it from me. Take care and see you all soon. Bye for now.